Okay, so typically when I do parent-teacher conferences, I begin by handing each parent a narrative that I have written so that they can have a chance to read that narrative. Absorb all of the information in it, and then I like to give them a chance to ask questions, have a conversation about what's written in the narrative. So for the purposes of this assignment, I will go ahead and read aloud the narrative that I've written about Rob, and then discuss sort of the next steps in the conference and the way I would move forward. So the way that I create these narratives is I have three sections. The first one is things I am great at. The next one is things I am working on. And the third one is things I enjoy. I do this very intentionally. It's important to me that parents get to start and end on a positive note about their children. And I really don't ever want that things I am working on section to feel like a negative section, which is why I don't say anything about things I'm struggling with or problems I am having. I want this to be as positive for the parents and the student as possible. And so rather than saying things that are problems, I turn it more into a things that I am working on. These are the things that I am, working hard on and want to improve and or things that as a teacher and teaching staff, these are the things that we are working on for the student. So I'm going to go ahead and read the narrative. Things I am great at. Rob is a kind and caring friend who gets along well with all of his classmates. He is accepting of others and shows kindness and respect to his peers, regardless of their differences or challenges. Rob is an excellent problem solver. He is naturally curious and often thinks outside the box when approaching challenges. For example, during classroom projects and discussions, he frequently comes up with creative solutions and ideas that other students may not have considered. His creativity and willingness to look at things from different perspectives are wonderful strengths that contribute positively to our classroom community. Things I am working on. One area Rob is continuing to work on is consistently completing and turning in his assignments, particularly homework. While he is more than capable of doing the work, he sometimes struggles with following through and staying organized enough to ensure assignments make it back to school. Rob is also working on thinking through his choices before acting. At times, he can be impulsive and make decisions without fully considering the consequences, which can occasionally lead to unsafe situations. We are helping him practice slowing down, making thoughtful choices, and taking responsibility for his work and actions. Things I enjoy. Rob loves drawing comics and expressing his creativity through art and storytelling. He enjoys activities that allow him to use his imagination and think creatively. He also thrives during collaborative activities and enjoys working with his classmates to solve problems, complete projects, and share ideas. Rob is a fun student to have in class and brings a great sense of humor to our classroom. He often makes both his friends and teachers laugh, and his positive energy helps make our classroom an enjoyable place to learn. So once the parents have had a chance to read it, then I would go ahead and open the sort of the floor up for discussion questions. Hopefully, usually this is not new information to parents. So my next step would just be to say, okay, so you guys have read it. What are your thoughts? Does this sound like the Rob you see at home? Does anything stand out to you? Is anything strange? Do you have questions about any of this? Typically, parents go right to that middle section because that's really the reason that they're here, right, is to find out what quote unquote weaknesses their child is displaying. And so this is when I would say, yep, he is continuing to work on this. It could absolutely be better. We're working really hard with Rob on being better organized. We're helping him develop new systems so that he can keep his work together in certain places, so that he can keep track of where everything is and when things are due. And we're also working really hard on reminding him again, like I said in the narrative, to slow down. Rob is just constantly going, which is great and something that is not just him. This is something that we see with a lot of students his age, that they're going 100% of the time, and they just need to take a breath, slow down. When you're going so fast, it's hard to remember that our actions have consequences. And so rather than asking our students to think more or think about their choices or talk about their choices. I just encourage them to slow down, because often when you slow your body down, you then slow your brain down, and it gives it time to catch up. That being said, I have no major concerns about Rob and his ability to thrive in school. He's doing wonderful. Like I said, he is so funny. He makes his friends and his teachers laugh every day, which is such a wonderful quality to have, especially for a kid his age. He's also truly an incredibly kind friend for someone his age. Often with kids this age, we see a lot of sort of selfishness and trouble making space for others. Rob doesn't have that problem. He does an amazing job of sharing the space, sharing the spotlight, making sure that everyone feels included. You know, if he notices that somebody is sitting out or looks sad or like they're not participating, he always goes and asks that friend, hey, do you want to come do this with me? You want to come sit with me? Do you want to come play this game? He's very intuitive. He can tell when somebody needs space or when somebody needs someone else to just come up and give him a little nudge in the right direction. So he's truly an amazing and remarkable kid, and I'm so lucky to have him in class. So then I would ask if there are, any additional concerns. I would reiterate, all of the positive things. Like I said, it's really important to me to begin and end conferences on a positive note. I think so often parents come into these things just dreading the negatives that they might hear. And so it's important to me that that's not the first thing that they hear, and that it's also not the last thing that they hear when they walk out. You want to end on a good note. You want to walk out thinking about the great things that were said. And that's hard to do when the last thing you heard was something negative. So that is essentially how my conference would go. Some parents have more things to say than others. Some parents want to talk more, have more questions, are just chattier in general than others. It's hard for me to know what Rob's parents would be like, but I imagine that this is pretty accurate in terms of what the conference would look like. So thank you so much. I apologize for losing my train of thought there. It's been a long week.